Thank you. We're calling this meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order. Roger Edwards, would you lead us in the salute?
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask everyone for a word of, or a moment of silence for all those affected by the California fires. Thank you very much. The fires are horrendous and are causing so much grief, and so thank you for doing that for me. We're very fortunate that we've had such a good fire department, Truckee Meadows, and all their programs for clearing brush and all that sort of thing. It's just really saved us, and this is part of their problem down there. So thank you so much. So, Madam Clerk, may I ask for a roll call, please?
Certainly. Chair Hill is absent. Vice Chair Herman?
I'm here.
Mike Clark?
Present.
Mari Luz Garcia? Here. Clara Andriola?
Present.
Assistant County Manager Kate Thomas?
Here.
And our Deputy District Attorney Nathan Edwards?
Here.
And I'm Jan Gallison, your County Clerk. Madam, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Clerk. And now it's time for public comment.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. We're on to public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Commission agenda. The Commission will also hear public comment during individual action items, with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the Commission as a whole, and virtual public comment will be eligible when facilities are available. Public comment is welcome during public comment periods and is limited to 3 minutes per person. Unused time may not be allocated to other speakers, and a speaker's viewpoint will not be restricted. However, reasonable restrictions may be imposed upon the time, place, and manner of speech. Irrelevant statements, unduly repetitious statements, and personal attacks that would objectively antagonize or incite others are examples of speech that may be reasonably limited. The Board of County Commissioners carries out the business of Washoe County and its residents during its meetings, and the presiding officer may order a person removed if the person's conduct or statements disrupt the order or safety of the meeting. Warnings about disruptive conduct or comments may or may not be given prior to removal. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
First up, we have John Crockett, followed by Roger Edwards. Mr. Crockett did give me documents that I will distribute to the board.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is John Crockett. I'm an Incline Village resident as well as branch manager of the Incline Village Library. Here today to show a few recent highlights and great strides we've made at the library in Incline. In 2021, we began a remodel of our children's area with the goal of increasing the space and provided a dedicated area for story time. And we partnered with the Washoe tribe to create and install a Gallistungle, a traditional Washoe winter shelter. And then partnered with local artist Sarah Smith to create an interpretive mural that features a Washoe welcome message as well as local flora and fauna. And it all creates a truly unique space that is culturally significant and honors the original inhabitants and stewards of the land right in the library. In 2022, we launched the Library to Go lending kiosk, the first in the system that is a book vending machine that provides 24-hour access to books. And since its launch, we've checked out over 1,500 items, mostly children's books. And it serves the purpose of providing access to books, but also excitement and engagement around early literacy for children. In 2023, we expanded Saturday hours. We expanded to 6-day-a-week service like the other branches in the system. And Saturdays have been well used by residents and visitors alike, always stopping in to visit the library during their visit. And we've added programs as well, like Pause to Read, as well as some of our summer reading activities, like the Summer Reading Kickoff Block Party, one of the big community events in Incline in the summer. In 2024, the library helped reopen the Incline Village Community Center. This is the old library building right next door. Had been a community center previously and then had not reopened following the pandemic. The library partnered with Washoe County Senior Services and the Justice Court to make this county space available to the public once again. And partnering with Senior Services, we developed and helped launch senior-focused programming like lifelong learning, a multi-day workshop where seniors can learn and practice a new skill like watercolor painting. Linda Offerdahl is the CEO of the Incline Village Crystal Bay Community Business Association, and she recently wrote in her weekly snapshot about civic engagement at the library and how libraries have become a resourceful place to learn and a gathering place in the community. And the library has really stepped into that role. We offer BCC public comment. The Citizens Advisory Board now meets in Incline Village. And also wanted to share a nice quote from resident Patricia Owens, who really enjoys the engagement of the senior programs. So I'd encourage the commissioners to continue.
Roger Edwards, followed by Terry Brooks.
Good morning, Commissioners. Roger Edwards for the record. Please enter my comments into the permanent record as per NRS. You folks will be happy to know that I got another late notice on my water recharge program. July will be 8 years. It's been shut off. Come on, 8 years. Coming up on 8 years, I've been getting late notices on a system that's been shut off. You guys just want to set yourselves up for more legal problems. You're going about it the right way. Also, I'm a cab member for North Valley's cab. I got my first appointment to the cab in January of 2000. Now, I don't know why this cab meeting was canceled, but our cab meetings are canceled way too much. It's important that the community gets to understand that we have regular cab meetings and they can come and find out what's going on in the neighborhood. This continuously canceling the meetings screws up the whole neighborhood. They don't have that continuity that they need to have from their Citizens Advisory Board. We're supposed to be advising you guys on what's going on in the neighborhood. We can't do that if you don't have meetings. Pretty simple. All right, well, I'm going to cut it short. We have the school board appointment going on today, so I have to be there too. So thank you very much. That's all.
Terry Brooks, followed by Paul White.
Good morning. It's me, Terry Brooks, again. And today I'd like to address following the money to education when it comes to homelessness. If you're a young kid in a poor family and want a good education, doing so just might be an unreal expectation. And if you are a young kid in a family that is homeless, you are even less likely to see getting an education with success. If you do go to a public school, you may not be able to follow every rule. And if you have no money for your school supplies, you may have to do without what the rich kid buys. But if you really find it as no surprise that all the rich kids have all their supplies. And when it's lunchtime, but you have no money for food, you might want to hide yourself somewhere in solitude. Because at lunchtime, all the rich kids eat, while all the poor kids have little or nothing to eat. And later on, all the rich kids get to go to college, too, something that the poor kids rarely get to do. The tuition for college has gotten really high, but it's something that the rich kids still can buy. And their wealthy parents can just buy their way, even with expensive bribes that they are willing to pay. So when the poor kids do without proper education, they also don't do as well when it comes to an occupation. So follow the money to the wealthy people again, while the poor people are doing without it again. I would like to thank you all for listening to me today, and I look forward to coming back because I've still got a lot more to say. Thank you.
Paul White, followed by Susan Elby.
We just heard about the library. I'm Paul White. We just heard about the library. Hopefully you all read the front page article in the Gazette Journal over the weekend. I don't know what it takes for you all to get involved in stopping this, what's going on with the library in general, but especially the downtown one. As we sit here right now, Karma Box and CARE campus are dropping off van loads of vagrants. And, you know, we can't call it homeless. I've worked with homeless for 50 years. There's no homeless in Reno, not on the street. The vagrants are on the street, defined as going around anywhere they want to live, not wanting to work and begging for a living. This is who's shown up at the library, truckloads of them. And then what do? They go to where the gentleman who spoke about the Incline Library, I would assume part of the system, they're also part that offers unlimited pornography. You've been lied to 3 times in one article by the guy running the libraries. It's Jeff Scott. He told you that, they could have lost millions of dollars if they wouldn't let people watch pornography. It was answered in the article. It's an absolute lie. The Supreme Court said there's no obligation. Nobody has a right to read pornography in a public library. And yet we allow this. He's been lying to you. He said, we've got privacy screens on all the computers. And the article said, no, they don't, which is why kids can just stand right there and watch it. Kids can access it. And then he said, I've got librarians roaming. They're always looking at things that are appropriate. I talked to 6 librarians at 6 branches who said the policy says, no, you can't monitor them, you can't monitor or observe even what they're doing there. And then a couple of blacklight searches, disgustingly, have found abundant evidence of masturbation all over the area where these guys, on the floor and furniture, where these guys watch this every day. This is what's going on in your library this morning. You got 50 men up there right now. And your employee, who was it? Bethany Drysdale, in this morning's paper, talking about the homeless guy who stabbed and killed another one last night. You know, we're working to give them more resources. What do you mean more resources? If anybody talks to these guys out there, they don't want anything to do with the tent. They don't want anything to do with Karma Box. They want to continue to be, also speaking of the fires, the same sociopaths and psychopaths that are helping set those fires back, trying to get them going again down there in Los Angeles. Ask the fire department here how many fires these guys set every day. Folks, you've got to get out there. It came to us that one of you had wanted to try to go unannounced into the tent and they wouldn't let you. Wouldn't let you? You run that place. You supervise it.
Susan Elby, followed by Craig Brosen.
Good morning. I'm actually here to say thank you So thank you. I'm Susan Elby. I'm the Assistant Director of Veterans Upward Bound housed at TMCC, Truckee Meadows Community College. My director, Robert Hernandez, is unable to attend today, so I am here on his behalf. He's been the director of our Veterans Upward Bound program almost since it's started at TMCC in 1989. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Veterans Upward Bound, we are a part of the Federal TRIO Grant Program, and we support pre-college students. So that means we help people, veterans from the community who are wanting to come to college. We help with filling out applications, whether it's the FAFSA, the financial aid application, applying for veterans benefit, ordering other military records, things like that. We also offer math and English tutoring, which can be really critical for veteran students, especially those who have been out of school for more than 5 years, to help them with the transition to community college. And we would like to thank Commissioner Herman for her contribution to our program. So thank you very much.
Let's see, Craig Brosen, followed by Suzanne Boroff.
Good morning. It's actually Craig Bronson. I think oh, there we go. You spelled better. All right. Good morning. My name is Craig Bronson. I just wanted an opportunity to introduce myself to you. I'm one of the candidates that you're considering under 7B1 to be appointed as an alternate to your senior advisory board. I have to run off to another meeting. I'm also the chair of the City Arena Recreation and Parks Commission. So I just wanted to let you know I'm here. I've been involved in Parks and Recreation for over 50 years. I still consult on the side. And the greatest achievement I have, if you look at my resume, is I'm a graduate of the Washoe County Leadership Academy class of 2024. So one of the things that they do with us is they try to get us involved in the community. So here I am today. My daughter is a member of the class of 2025, going through it right now, and I want to put a plug in. The staff that you have assigned to your Leadership Academy are absolutely top-notch. They do a wonderful job. They inspire those of us in the community who are interested in serving our community, but your staff is absolutely wonderful, and it was a great experience. So with that, thank you.
Suzanne Boroff, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Boroff. Thank you, Madam Chair, who isn't here, and trustees for the opportunity to speak. I'm a constituent of District 3. My commissioner is Mike Clark. We all know that the loss of WC1 could be damaging to our libraries and the communities they serve. With the New Year's budget coming up for review, I thought it would be important to share with the commission a bit about how the branch in my area has helped me and my husband. I think it's important, too, to point out that I'm telling you today because it's directly linked to your county strategic plan, specifically about vulnerable populations and innovative services. The people who work at the South Valleys branch are so helpful every time we are there. Every time we have been in, they've had answers to our questions and seem to know so much about the community. And you may not know about the wide range of things they do and all of the expert help they provide, so I'll just share a little bit of it. They helped me download an ebook. That sounds like something pretty simple, but it isn't for somebody that doesn't know how to do it. And it helps me learn something new, and so I can take advantage of the ebooks in the library. Also, I've observed 2 or 3 card groups playing in there, so it encourages people to come together and be social. My husband and I are members of a ukulele group that meets once a week at the library, and the group is a mix of people of all ages, but mostly seniors. It's a great way to get out and have fun and meet new people and play some music. We also have practiced there and volunteered at nursing homes from working at the library. I'm really concerned and frightened that cutbacks could affect our community, and it would be a huge loss if the branches have to reduce hours or lay off staff. Thank you for your listening.
Drew Rebar, followed by Sharon Sarenko.
Good morning, Drew Rebar for the record. Well, I gave you a library update last time. I'm going to give you a library update again this time. As you all know, I've got a lawsuit against the library, Jeff Scott, and Build Our Center. I told you last time that Build Our Center did not reply within the time frame required by the court, and I went ahead and filed a notice to the clerk that I was going to seek a summary judgment against Build Our Center. Well, 14 minutes after I filed that, the attorney for Washoe County, Michael Large, he forwarded a message to some attorney that I didn't know. Imagine that, 14 minutes after I filed the notice that I was going for summary judgment, he forwards my email to some unknown attorney that's not noticed on the record. And 14 minutes thereafter, an attorney named Allison reached out to me and said, "Stop! I'm going to represent Build Our Center." Now, how did Michael Large, the attorney, know to contact this woman? It seems a little unethical and outside the rules to me, but hell, what do I know? But let's go into some more information that I've got for you. I'm going to be sending some emails and documents to the Library Board of Trustees tomorrow for their meeting. So what you guys may be interested in knowing is Library Director Jeff Scott, he approved comp time for library county employees to go off and do this LGBTQ thing. That's an ethics violation, isn't it? That's his own personal interest, and he's using county money for it. And he approved it. The email says so. That's kind of cool. I've got lots of really cool emails. You guys will be really interested to see it. If you want any of the emails, reach out to me, because I know that the county manager and their officials try to hide stuff from you. I've got a lot of really cool stuff. Did you know the county blocked Washoe County Libraries blocked 5 people from social media because they didn't like their speech? Uh-oh. And Mary Candaris was in on it, wasn't she? Kind of cool. It's amazing how much information I've got now. And I haven't even got my discovery back from the county yet. This is all just public records that I've received. You guys got problems. It's corrupt. County money, public money being spent for these private events, going to benefit private entities like our center. Did you know our center gave free tickets to pride events to county employees? Remuneration and kickbacks, great news! Anyways, you guys have a great day. Drew Rebar for the record, and we'll see you around.
Sharon Sarenko, followed by Alana Fitzgerald.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Sarenko. I'm the chaplain and treasurer for the Nevada Veterans Coalition. With me today are a couple of our members, along with some folks sitting in the back row up there. We would like to thank Washoe County Commissioners and especially Commissioner Herman for considering us for this gift. We are the honor guard at the Veterans Cemetery in Fernley, and if we receive this gift, we will use it to further one of our projects to honor all veterans, past, present, and future. While providing full military-style honors for the veterans at the cemetery, we also maintain a small office in Fernley where veterans can come seeking advice and assistance about benefits available to them through the VA. We also provide direct assistance to the cemetery itself when unforeseen things happen. Not too long ago, we replaced the batteries, that was almost $1,000, and the braking system for the electric vehicles that the staff uses daily at the cemetery. By the way, we also purchased those electric vehicles for the cemetery. We have over the years provided thousands of dollars in equipment, man-hours, flags, cleanup, whatever need arises. The Honor Guard also oversees Wreaths Across America and the Memorial Day services at the cemetery, which are attended by hundreds and hundreds of people. We just had Wreaths Across America last month, and we had over 1,500 people out there honoring our veterans. Still, our focus remains as Honor Guard members to honor all the veterans and their families as their needs arise for the cemetery. If you've been at one of our services, you understand what an honor it is for us to do this. We are all volunteers. We consider what we do a calling. Although we don't charge for our services, we do accept donations as we provide these well-deserved honors to our veterans and their families at the cemetery. Thank you.
Alana Fitzgerald, followed by Chaplain Chaz Blackburn. Alana Fitzgerald.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Vice Chair and trustees, for the opportunity to speak. I am a constituent in District 1 and thankful for the Commissioner and Chair Alexis Hill for the work she does and all of you do for our communities. With the loss of WC1, knowing that budget talks are coming up, I wanted to briefly discuss some of the amazing services that our libraries do that tie into your 21-25 strategic plan. Today, I pulled information from the librarians' report from their September 2024, their own board meeting. And it's about the Sparks branch. I have 2 slides, and they're focused on a day in the life of a librarian. And I'm only going to share a couple things off that. But the focus here on this is that they give information about all the other community agencies and services that refer people to the library, with the lead-in of they can help you with that. So I do believe that this all ties into your strategic objective about vulnerable populations. And what I'm going to do is just show you briefly, have you take a look at this. Here, there we go. And sorry, it's not too terribly visible, but a day in the life of a librarian. And specifically, one of the ones I have starred there is the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services refers people to the library to get guidance and assistance there. Also, applying for jobs. And telehealth appointments. If you don't have the capability in your own home to have an appointment with the doctor and you can't get to the doctor's office, the libraries can help with telehealth appointments. Huge, huge assists in our community for helping vulnerable populations, people in vulnerable populations, get the services they need. So I'd like you to keep that in mind as you move towards your budgeting process. Thank you so much.
Chaplain Chaz Blackburn, followed by Jimmy Drury.
Good afternoon, Chaplain Chaz Blackburn for the record. I want to thank you all for the important work that you do, regardless of affiliation to a party. I know that we're stronger united, and it is very difficult sometimes to stand for what you believe in, but still do it respectfully. So thank you all for the work you do. I'm here to talk about 4 organizations I'm representing today. 2 will be later on a different agenda item. The first I'd like to cover is Good Shepherd's Clothes Closet. As the president, I'm happy to share that we're very thankful to the community. The community raised $112,000 through grants and donations to help our mission. We gave over $1.2 million worth of clothing to those in need in our community in strategic and meaningful ways. And we came under our budget and expenses minus an asset purchase of a truck for $40,000, which we had previously received in a different year. We came $4,000 under our expenses, which is excellent. We also started a new partnership with Washoe County Human and Health Services, which will be discussed further. We'd like to activate those programs to support the CARES campus strategically. So I encourage the community to please contribute if you feel led to that specifically, as well as our downtown Reno partnership that we are excited to announce. I'd also like to say go Wolfpack. Tonight is going to be a great game. We hope the Pack wins. I represent Nevada Donor Network, and I just want to remind everybody about the importance of organ and tissue donation. We will have tables there. If you'd like to learn more about registering, you can go to nvdonor.org. I also had a personal thing I wanted to share about my great aunt who's now in her 80s. I want to encourage the county to do better education on the high and low tax caps, especially to our vulnerable population like our seniors. My aunt has been overpaying taxes since 2020. I've helped her rectify that. I do know you guys had a table at the Senior Fest educating seniors, and I thank you for that. But I do think there needs to be more letters and more communication when they put their houses in trust that gets to the top bracket of 8%. Lastly, I wanted to give a praise report to Lauren, who's a Washoe County employee. The Opioid Fund Distribution Committee is doing fantastic work. I truly appreciate, though I wasn't able to be at the meeting last night, I see lots of friends who are also on that committee. We are doing exceptional work getting true input from those affected and how to best use the money, as well as take care of gap areas of coverage for those who are suffering from this epidemic and their families. So again, thank you. I look forward to speaking on the two other organizations and thanking you as a board on the right agenda item. Thank you.
Jimmy Drury, followed by Kevin Lystet.
Short. Good morning. Thank you for having us here today. I'm here alongside Crossroads to express gratitude. I'm the program manager of the Men's Crossroads program, and as somebody with 14 years in recovery, I can't tell you how grateful I am for your unwavering support, how you've backed us. The project of recovery can be very lonely, and Crossroads is focused on community and addressing that isolation. But that community can exist sometimes in our own little bubble, right? And so the idea that we have support outside of just our walls means more than I can express in 3 minutes. I also want to speak on what we mean by community. I hope that when we view Crossroads here right now, we see that it is beyond just how we connect with one another within the building, but how we can connect, how we will connect and continue to connect with the larger Washoe County area. This is our project and our mission is more than just a brotherhood or a sisterhood, but a stronger sense of solidarity outside of just one program and the impact that can make. And that is only possible with your support. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. That's all I got.
Kevin Lystet, followed by Stephen Markley.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Kevin Lysted, and I am a Crossroads graduate and a Crossroads employee. Before I entered Crossroads, I was the guy you really didn't want in your community. I was deep in my active addiction to drugs and alcohol. My behavior was criminal and shameful. I had no hope and no idea how to get myself out of the deep hole of despair I was in. Then, by the grace of God, the STAR team at Sober 24 gave me an opportunity to change my life, and they got me into the Crossroads program. While I was scared at first, very soon I realized that Crossroads was exactly what I needed in order to change my life. Because I hated my life. I hated everything about it, but mostly I hated that I had failed at fatherhood. But my hope was that if I could recover, maybe, just maybe someday, I might be well enough to be a good grandparent. So I dug into the Crossroads program. I followed directions. I took suggestions from staff and other men who were further along in the program. I went to the groups and I did the work they put in front of me to do. I accepted the love and the help that they offered me. And soon the changes started to happen. I learned how to change the way I thought about people, places, and things. I learned how to better react to obstacles and incidents. I learned how to care for myself physically, mentally, and spiritually. I addressed my traumas and my fears. I came to accept myself and decided that I was worthy of a good life and happiness. The brotherhood and unity at Crossroads was so magical and supportive. We cared for each other. We laughed and we cried together. We encouraged each other. We corrected each other. The staff there was amazing. They gave us every resource we needed to recover. They were really invested in our growth and our wellness. They were caring and encouraging, but they were also firm. I was in awe of their commitment to our recovery. And in a blink of an eye, I graduated. And now I too am a proud member of the amazing staff at Crossroads. I am so grateful to share my experience, strength, and hope with the men who are blessed to be in our program. I loved being a client, and I absolutely love being on the staff at Crossroads. Now each day I wake up clear-headed and eager to face the day ahead of me. I am full of hope and excitement for my future. I have a relationship with God, and my family is very happy to have me back in their lives. I have a job that I absolutely love. Today, I love my new life that never would have happened if not for the Crossroads program. Today, I am happier and healthier than I've ever been. And today, my daughter Grace Leanne is 7 months pregnant with my first grandchild. It's going to be a boy. And my daughter is excited for me to be a part of her life. So I'll be leaving your community soon to move back to Seattle. I'm sorry. None of this could be possible without the Crossroads program. Thank you for supporting the Crossroads program, and thank you for supporting the program that's changing lives every day.
Stephen Markley, followed by Josh Shea.
Hello once again. Again, my name is Stephen Markley. Before I came to Crossroads, I was an unhoused IV drug user. I spent 6 years on the streets and in the tunnels underneath Las Vegas. And after years of suffering under the stigma and shame that had been thrust upon me for my condition, I finally found the place to change that could give me every opportunity to change. And that was Crossroads, right? Because when you go into a program like that and you find that they're treating you with dignity and compassion, it makes you want to be a better person. I never felt that I was a bad person, but the way I like to put it now is that the clouds have been moved aside and the inner light that's in me can shine through. And if I hadn't had a program like that, and Crossroads is a very rare program. I've been to 9 programs in my life, and I've never found one that's been willing to work with me as an individual, right? Like there's of course there's the basic program that everybody does, but what's special about Crossroads is that they identify your individual needs and they work with you. When I first showed up there, it was a victory for me. Like it started with take a shower, make your bed, wash your dishes. And after a while, those grew, right? And they celebrated those with me. But I never got stagnant there. There was always a push for growth, but never one that was unachievable. And by taking that time and working with me and identifying that I have the capability to get back out into the community and help people who are experiencing the same issues that I did, has given me meaning and purpose, which is what I think was missing my entire life. And they did that through hundreds of hours of conversation and guidance. And I can't emphasize the importance of having a program that is managed and guided by people with lived experience. So, and you guys are part of our change team too. If we didn't have the support of folks like you, we would not exist. I wouldn't be in the place that I am right now, and I can say thoroughly that I like myself now. So thank you all for your support.
Josh. Josh Shea, followed by Jose Cruz Carlos Villegas.
Hi. I'm Josh Shea. Once again, nervous. I'm hoping that by reading this letter, I can give you guys an idea of where I was mentally and where I came from. And that by reading it, you can see the progress that the Crossroads community has bred within me. Today, I find myself reflecting on the tumultuous journey I've had with my heroin queen. She promised safety, but in reality, she kept me shackled in fear and dependency. The irony of it all is striking. Something that brings death daily was a false sense of security. I grappled with the realization that what kept me alive could also be the very thing that took my life. It was a painful acceptance, acknowledging that I might always need substances to stave off depression, even if it came at a risk or came with the risk of death. I often felt torn between the desire to live and the urge to succumb to my addiction. It was constant battle. And just when I thought all was lost, I saw a glimmer of hope, a porch light shining in the darkness. It symbolized the Crossroads community. A beacon guided me back home. When I arrived, I was met with warmth and acceptance, a stark contrast to the fear and isolation I had known. Despite my instinct to run and discredit the kindness shown to me, I chose to stay. I walked in with my dirty shoes, a metaphor for my messy past. And instead of being turned away, I was met with compassion. The staff didn't just accept me, they taught me how to clean up my act, both literally and figuratively. They showed me how to navigate my recovery path, ensuring I could leave a clean trail for others to follow. I've never experienced such unconditional love before, and it's something I'm willing to protect fiercely. I fought for people who didn't have my best interest at heart, but now I understand the depth of the love I received from this community. They saved not just me, but also my relationships with my family. They believed in me when I'd lost all hope, and their support has been a lifeline. The drugs may have buried me, but that was necessary for my rebirth. I needed a solid foundation to grow, and the Crossroads community provided that nurturing environment. They watered my spirit with love and compassion, allowing me to flourish. My gratitude is immense, and I feel compelled to express it even if words fall short. Having been through the trenches, I now walk in peace. I've experienced pain and healing, and I want to share that knowledge with others. My goal is to show my gratitude by fully believing in this program and the people within it, just as they believed in me. I'm committed to fostering growth and recovery, creating a space where others can thrive, and providing support to staff who have been the backbone. Together we rise. I want everyone to know that I have their backs. The journey is far from over, but the love and support of this community, I feel empowered to breathe life into recovery for myself and others. Together we can create a legacy of hope and healing. Sorry, that was hard.
Jose Cruz Carlos Villegas, followed by Michelle Pedroso.
Good morning. I've come from Crossroads. I just really wanted to show you guys my gratitude. So I was speaking with the staff member yesterday, and I was really curious to know who's helping pay for my bed, you know? I thought it was maybe my insurance, or, you know, I knew the money came from somewhere. And she was explaining to me that the community, well, you guys, and just Washoe County itself was the one that was supplying the money to help, you know, feed me and have a bed for me, which means a great deal to me. So I wanted to show my support and say thank you guys a lot. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate Crossroads. I feel like a lot of my time in my addiction, I was just running away from things left and right. And at the end of the day, I feel like it was just, I came from a broken home, and I was just wanting to find something that made me feel like welcome. As soon as I stepped, oh, it's crazy. As soon as I stepped in, this place made me feel like I was at home. Thank you, guys.
Michelle Pedroso, followed by Stephanie Myers.
Good morning. Have you heard? I'm part of the Crossroads. You have listened of all our story, but I just want to be focused on you guys because I want to be thankful for the help that you're giving us. My life, it would be different if I don't have soul and hearts like you. So I want to be thank you, to all of my deep of my hearts. At some point, I want to, like, I don't know how to say that, like to do the same as soon as I go through crossover. I want to do the same because you changed my life. You you show me that we have great people in the world, in Reno. So I want to be thank you, okay? I want to say thank you and be proud because all of the things, all of support that you're giving us, okay? So thank you.
Stephanie Myers, followed by Shane Piccanini.
Good morning. I'm also nervous. My name is Stephanie Myers. I am a Crossroads Women and Children's Program graduate and now a RISE employee working as a PRSS at the Men's Crossroads. Prior to entering the program, I was an opioid drug user. I was a mother without her children and a human with no desire to live, let alone the knowledge on how to live. After surviving an overdose and realizing I needed help to achieve recovery, I went into the Crossroads program and everything changed. I'm here to express my gratitude, not only for the Crossroads program, but for the community support that you guys demonstrate in this room, in these rooms. I didn't just find recovery at Crossroads. I found meaning and purpose. I lost my place. I found meaning and purpose. I developed and sharpened the tools that I needed to be healthy, to be happy, and to be confident in sustaining these changes. It is my hope that countless more people like myself can find their way to Crossroads and experience the fulfillment in life that I now have and that my children have as a result of it. I consider it a miracle to be able to stand in front of you today, and thank you guys for your continuous support. And I hope you have a great day.
Shane Piccanini, followed by Timothy Brazil.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Shane Piccinini. I'm with the Food Bank of Northern Nevada, and this is really hard to follow. so just thank you for your testimonies. I am with the Food Bank of Northern Nevada, and I wanted to thank all of you, especially Commissioner Herman, but the entire commission, for your generous gift to the food bank and also the continued partnership that we have experienced with the county commission since the beginning days of the existence of the food bank, like 30 years ago, whatever it is, it's a long time. We are currently serving around 155,000 people every single month. That is a staggering number. Every time I think about it, it just makes me pause. We're all going into an incredibly busy season with the legislature opening and a new federal administration and all of the crazy that goes with it. But in all of that crazy, I never want to forget the support of our amazing local community and all of the great work that is happening in this community to support all of the people that live here. So, as always, you are all welcome to come out to the food bank and do a tour or meet the staff or go to one of our direct service sites and to meet the people that we serve. But I just wanted to, before the clock runs out, say thank you and Happy New Year.
Timothy Brazil, followed by Tanner Ramasiati.
Good morning. I'm a member of the Crossroads community. I was a fentanyl addict, and I've been through a lot of stuff that made me feel like giving up. I've tried to commit suicide multiple times. I've overdosed in the realm of 60 times. And I was in a place in my life where I didn't have any hope. The Crossroads program has given me the opportunity to rebuild my life. It has given me the opportunity to do things that I never thought I was going to be able to do. I speak to my children every day. I've rebuilt relationships with my family that didn't exist prior to coming to Crossroads. And I just wanted to say thank you for your support, and thank you for the opportunity to better myself. Have a good day.
Tanner Ramasiati, followed by Trista Gomez.
Hi, I'm Tanner Ramachetti. I want to say thank you for having us here. Your guys' support changed my life. Before Crossroads, words can't describe. I was suicidal. I was a train wreck. I've overdosed, just like you, my brothers, my sisters. I'm close with my family now, and my brothers got my back, and everything that I've been through in my life, sorry, I'm kind of like lost for words. I don't like coming up and speaking because I get nervous. So, but I mean, I want to say thank you for everything. Like, really, I feel like a outstanding member of my community. Yeah, so thank you.
Trista Gomez, followed by Bruce Foster.
Good morning, Trista Gomez for the record. Please put my comments on the record verbatim. A couple things I want to talk about. There's so much to talk about, so I always have to figure out what I'm actually going to talk about. The state of the country, I feel like the appetite for evasiveness or evasive government that's not transparent, government that's not accountable, I feel like there's a huge decrease in that. There's an awareness now of the public that wasn't there before. And that awareness, I feel like, will come and, play a part in Washoe County on a wider role. A couple things that I think that I want to talk about are that I'm going to talk about Mr. Clark, I'm going to talk about Mr. Brown, I'm going to talk about 2.5A. I wouldn't have known Mr. Clark from anybody if I bumped into him in a Rayleigh's grocery store. But since I've been coming here for about a year, what I've noticed is that there's a commissioner and Ms. Herman who seem to vote for the needs and the wishes and the regards of the residents, and I appreciate that. And I also noticed that that's not, it feels like from the outside, because I don't know, that isn't taken kindly upon from maybe some of the other commissioners. And but I will say that what I see from an outside perspective is that Mr. Clark seems to be somewhat of, he at least acknowledges residents, and to some degree he becomes an advocate for residents, and I appreciate that. And to thwart his involvement, I feel like would be, it would be bad for residents. And I hope that that's not something that is coming or is hoping for. As far as 2.5A is concerned, I'm glad that that has been taken off the table for now until it's revised and you guys can figure out roads and infrastructure and address residents' concerns and residents' legal disputes, that we had to actually do a legal dispute to get anything even heard. Because really we feel like a lot of times we come up here, we talk, there's nobody listening. And I feel like I'm really glad about that. The last thing I'm just going to touch on really briefly is the budget and employee costs and the high cost of the manager. But really, residents aren't opposed to outcome-based programs. Like, I'm listening to these people. I just feel so incredibly happy for the Crossroads program. We need to pay a lot of attention to the outcomes of the money that we're spending instead of just spending money and not having it tied to some sort of outcome that the residents have to pay for, and that's all.
Bruce Foster.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. Bruce Foster for the record. And as always, I open up, welcome to Washoe County, the shopping cart capital of Nevada. And I wish to start with, I just want to commend all those that have graduated through the Crossroads program. And it's so important to get back on track And I want to go back a few weeks ago. I had a meeting, or I should say I was part of a group of a meeting with Mayor Sheeby as well as the city planner, and discussed the homeless issue, which is a biggie. We have multiple issues moving forward in 2025, but that is a building problem at over 7,500 from my understanding. And we need to make sure that we approach this maybe on a common sense issue. We agreed in this meeting that I was a part of that tough love is so important, and we have a bit of Mayor Sheeby and I have a little bit of a commonality where we had my youngest daughter was involved in meth, and we had to send her out on an all-expense-paid vacation out in Elko. She also had a brother that had to go that way. Thankfully, my daughter is doing incredibly well, and I appreciate everyone that is going to be getting back into society. But, you know, I just wanted to speak on the library as well, and I called the downtown library CARES Campus #2, and I was there a few weeks ago where they all are lined up and ready to go in and spend the day, and want to express to you, you probably read the RGJ article about the pornography that's available to the patrons there from the CARES campus, and they spend the day there, and it was brought out that it was qualified that, you know, with a black light, it was proven that there's issues there. And then the big thing is that moving forward, I just want to clarify that we have individual here that's on the staff here that is a part of the county commission, and she stated that she would definitely support Trump. Would Trump support her? And then I want to move forward that on this one, that this is something that is a real concern as a citizen of District 4. And I know the Leo 2.0 Terrell states that rhinos are more dangerous than Democrats. And I hope moving forward we can accomplish. Thank you.
That's everybody here in chambers. We will now go to Incline Village, where we have Patricia Owens.
Thank you very much. My name is Patricia Owens. I've lived in Incline for about 36 years. One of the first places I came to was the public library. Libraries have played a very important part in my life. Growing up, I've always spent time in libraries. I find them a source of comfort, a source of information, friendly, helpful people. And there are some, as I've gotten older, I found that I am technologically challenged on operating some devices, and the staff here are always so friendly and helpful, not only to me, but to my friends. There are some wonderful programs for young children. Families gather here because they feel safe and comfortable. The programs for the toddlers, for the teens, for the seniors really contribute to our quality of life. And as I've gotten older, I'm in my 80s now, I just really appreciate the opportunity to look forward to something and plan my week. I volunteer here. I volunteered helping with shelving materials for probably over 25 years, and I think people appreciate the libraries and use them. We have, the meeting rooms are open for public community groups. We have activities a picnic once a year. We have book sales to try and raise money for the library. But it's just a very welcoming atmosphere. And I think, unfortunately, with Washoe County Question 1, there was confusion as people thought it would be a new tax rather than just an allocation of an existing tax. And I'm hoping that you'll consider not cutting our hours or our personnel or our programs because they provide a valuable service to the community. Thank you very much for your time and for letting us speak.
Madam Chair, that is everybody who signed in, and I do have emails to be placed on the record.
Okay. Now it's time for commissioners and county manager announcements. And
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. This is reports and updates to include boards and commission updates, requests for information, or topic for future agendas. And if I might, I have one small item. We are pulling from today's agenda item 7E1. And that's all I have.
all right. Well, let's start from the, let's see, it would be the north end of this dais. And Commissioner Clark, would you like to start with any comments you have?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I was caught a little by surprise. I saw that we've got an agenda item where we're going to be donating funds to Crossroads, Men's Crossroads, and I didn't realize that the folks would show up in mass, and very inspirational hearing the outcomes and how it's affected in a positive way the folks that are in that program. I think this is a real good example of how many of the other county programs should be run. We've got folks that have been able to turn their lives around and in a positive way. So I always like to see positive outcomes. So I salute each and every one of these folks and continued success in your journey. So again, that's what I want to start. Also, I've asked in the past, and this is kind of ties in with that. I've asked for CHAB meetings to come back, and the chair has sent me an email that says unless I give her exact reasons why we're going to have community homeless advisory board meetings, she sees no reason in having those. This is an example of the Crossroads folks. If they could show up at these community homeless advisory board meetings, tell their stories, inspire other folks that are on the streets. Part of having these meetings is hearing from the folks who are living that life. You know, I don't live there. I'm not a subject matter expert on the homelessness and what it's like being on the street, but the folks that are on the streets, maybe they could have some insight and give us commissioners and our staff direction to help them and get off the street. So community homeless advisory board meetings, you know, to me, that's just almost like a citizens advisory board meeting. The difference is these are homeless folks. They don't have a community they live in, or they do, that's the street. So we need to have those meetings and hear from the folks who live that life and find out ways and educate ourselves to find out ways to help these folks turn their lives around, and Crossroads is a good example of that. So one of the very few that I'm very impressed with the county is this Crossroads program. So congratulations. And I wanted to tie that in with the Community Homeless Advisory Board meetings. We need to start holding those. That's the City of Reno, the City of Sparks, and the county, and the folks that are living that life. We need to get those folks in, find out how we can help them, if they can be helped, and how that we can help them. And I think we've got a group here that could be ambassadors and interpreters for us as county officials to the folks that are living that lifestyle. I want to go back to Roger Edwards spoke. One of the comments that he made, the counties had a recharging program, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but the county charged a group, 500, 600, 700 homeowners, a certain amount of money every month to recharge wells in a certain area. They soon found out that nature was doing that and recharging the wells. The wells were then overfull. The water was, we had a surface water problem, I guess, at one point in time. And so the county discontinued that. However, the county continued to charge folks for this service. And this is the short version of this. And over 7 years now, the county hasn't pumped water back into the wells, and yet Roger Edwards is still getting some bills and getting late charges. I incorrectly said he was in a wrong district or a wrong representative, a wrong commissioner. I mentioned Commissioner Andriola's name, and I apologize for that, and I'll apologize again. That is not, he is not one of her constituents. So, but the problem still remains. The county is charging late fees on a service that they don't offer, and it should be a simple fix, but this has been going on for at least 2 years that I know of. Roger tells me it's 7 or 8 years that he's been battling with the county. We need to put this on the agenda and get this thing resolved, and we've got other fish to fry. We've got other things to do besides this. There's close to $700,000 in this account. The folks that live in that neighborhood aren't asking for a refund. They just don't want to get billed, and they don't want to get late charges. They don't want to see this. How much does it cost the county to send out bills on a service that's not being rendered? So again, I'd like to see that on the agenda. I've asked for it numerous times. Terry Brooks, always good to hear from Terry. I think he's left the room. Paul White brought up some interesting facts. He's made some allegations about the library. The libraries denied the allegations, and then when the Reno Gazette-Journal fact-checked them, they found out that Paul White is, in fact, correct. When we have information that's been fact-checked, we as commissioners should act on that. Most folks don't understand that the county commissioners appoint a board for the library board, and then the library board administers the library. So in the end of the day, our involvement is in appointing people on that board. So if anybody's got requests for anything with the library, they should talk to the library board. I've hundreds of emails about don't cut the funding of the board. And it's never been anybody's intention that I know of to cut the funding. But I also understand from Ann Silver, the chair of the library board, that she's been trying for months, I guess she finally got it the other day, months to get the budget. As soon as this vote was passed, immediately the library folks started talking about budget cuts and layoffs and cut hours. That isn't what was taking place. The library board wants to look at the budget and find out if there's cost-cutting savings and what can be done at the board, at the library. And somebody was less than forthcoming on sharing that budget. I understand she has it now. So I think they'll be working on that. And let's find out if there is indeed issues that might require cutting hours or laying folks off. I don't think that's the case, but immediately that was the battle cry from the other side. So let's take a look at that budget. So those are the couple of folks that talked about the libraries. Again, the folks from Crossroads, couldn't be prouder of them. And then lastly, I've got a comment about my personal situation, and I planned to talk about it today. The person that needs to hear it the most is not present today, so I'm going to put it on the records anyhow, and we'll go forward with that. When I was elected to the position of Washoe County Assessor, I had met with this and was supportive of the Village League to save Incline Village. Due to my support of the group fighting to gain $100 million in refunds from excessive property taxes imposed by Washoe County. This, by the way, is the Nevada Supreme Court saying this, not Mike Clark. Dating back to 2003, I was met with pushback from almost every corner of the county. The pushback in many ways is the equivalent of bullying. Sadly, since I've been elected to the position of county commissioner, I have repeatedly requested that the bullying and misinformation stop. This is not the case. Most recently, it was represented on the November 15th, 2024, that I was, that I would like to please note for the record, Commissioner Clark inappropriately tried to recuse himself and then stormed off. Please let the record reflect that. When that was not the case, the false interpretation of one county commissioner who does not like me and has labeled me on national news as an arsonist in the building does not mean that this is what occurred. I never stormed off the dais. I've got film to prove that. Instead, I left after Assistant Attorney Nate Edwards expressed that he could not opine after the break whether I could recuse myself or not. I do not know about you, but I try to take my legal advice from licensees that give it. Since that commission meeting, I've spoken with Human Service Director Patricia Hurley, and I have made the application for formal complaints that are pending investigation and resolution. Now, I want to express that the misleading behavior must stop, and that we must, as politicians, must be leaders and apologize when we're wrong or misleading. I did apologize to Commissioner Andrella more than once today and the day that I made the incorrect statement, and I hope she'll accept my apology. In the past, I personally apologized for any comments that could be construed as being negative to staff. Now I ask for the same grace. I just needed to get that on the record. I want to make sure people understand that. I'm asking for another issue to be brought on, based on these comments, brought on to the commission's next agenda, as voting on who might be the new chair. I'd like to have a vote of confidence or no confidence in the existing chair. I think that this log jam needs to be broken up, where there's obviously personal vindictiveness here on that person's part against me, and I think we can work a lot better if we have another person. So I'd like to ask that we have an agenda item that we can take the chair's position from a 2-year position to a 1-year position. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Andriola, did you have any?
Thank you, Vice Chair. I thank you for echoing the moment of silence in terms of sharing the devastation in California, and also the shout out to all of the firefighters, including those from Truckee Meadows who are helping to Truckee Meadows Fire Department, who are helping to do everything they can with the devastation that's occurring. So thank you for the moment of silence. I want to also thank all of the folks with Crossroads. You know, it really is a testament to the staff that support you and to each other. But it's a huger testimony, if there's a word called huger. It's a larger testimony to your commitment and your success. So congratulations to all of you, and even the folks that aren't here, and the program's success. And again, it really does take a community, and it takes staff and dedication. So, but it can't happen without your desire of change. So kudos to all of you. I also want to share that I attended the first meeting of the, that I attended anyway, for the Northern Nevada Public Health, and I'd like to share that they're holding a meeting and breakout session. It's per meeting and breakout session for January 16th, and it is invited, everyone is invited, businesses and individuals permitted by the Northern Nevada Public Health are invited to attend. They'll be looking at environmental health services and air quality management division. Again, they're inviting everyone who's interested. It's an informational meeting and a breakout session on January 16th from 9 to 10 a.m. at the main Northern Nevada Public Health location, which is Building B, Conferences Room A and B. And I wanted to make sure everyone had that opportunity to attend. And thank you. That's all I have. And Happy New Year.
Thank you, Commissioner. Marcia.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I wanted to also say Happy New Year to everybody. This is our first BCC meeting of the year. It's always great to be able to start off the new year with that fresh start feeling, so I'm looking forward to what 2025 will bring us. I wanted to start off by saying congratulations to our two colleagues that were sworn in, Commissioner Andriola and Chair Alexis Hill. We were all in attendance, and public service isn't for the weak of heart, and so I want to commend and congratulate everybody for a job well done here and every day out in the county. Crossroads, wow, I just continue to be incredibly amazed and floored. It takes a lot of courage to walk up to a podium and share such vulnerable things, but it takes a tremendous amount of courage to walk in your shoes every single day, and you're heroic for that. And so I want to say thank you. It's commendable for you to just come here and remind us of how important and successful this program is. Thank you, Mr. Lemus, for your leadership, and I look forward to seeing the new site soon. But, you know, we should be thanking you every day for the hard work that you put in, and so I just felt very inspired. So thank you for being here.
All right, thank you very much. I have a couple of items. First, Commissioner Clark, who has left, I'll talk to him about that. The Crossroads folks, I've been right with you from the very beginning, and yeah, we're buddies. Yeah, so, and I'll tell you what, don't feel bad about being shy to get in front of a microphone, because I'm the worst. The worst. I sit here and I just am like a little kid scared to death, and I've been that way ever since I was a little kid, so that's just the way it is. Nervousness, my blood pressure probably goes. But anyhow, thank you for being here. I appreciate that so much. The fires. It just brings to light a whole lot of feelings about our inability to provide insurance for people. And I feel that our responsibility is to get something started with insurance. A lot of people have lost their insurance, and now, as an example, you know, all the people that have lost their homes down in California, they're really hurting, and the insurance companies, I don't know, maybe it was poor planning, I don't know what it is, but I'd like to ask that we come up with a presentation from the people who are responsible for insurance, so that we can get our state back on track. There's a lot of people in our county that have lost their home insurance. And I know of people all over that have had problems whenever we've had a fire, that their insurance was canceled. So somehow we've got to be able to help get this started. And I feel that our board is a place to get it started. So if we could have a presentation of some kind from the insurance people that run the insurance people, that we do that very soon, before anybody else loses their home and doesn't have insurance. So I think I am done with that. Thank you very much. So the next item on our list is donations. And Commissioner Garcia?
We are on item number 5, Madam Vice Chair, if that's okay.
I'm
We've got
sorry,
our,
the
yes,
budget.
we are
Yes.
excited about our donations, but we've got to,
presentation.
we
Yes,
want to, thank you.
Okay.
So item number 5 before us today is a presentation on the Washoe County financial outlook for fiscal year 2026. The overview will include a review of the general fund's financial results for fiscal year 2024, a mid-year 2025 review, and economic revenue expenditure trends, the Board of County Commissioners' strategic goals, known cost increases, unquantified and outstanding cost impact, and a general outlook for fiscal year 2026 and the budget. budget. And with us today, we have Budget Manager Lori Cook and our CFO, Abby Jacobin. So, thank you.
And I'm sorry.
Lori Cook, Washoe County Budget Manager, short person at the podium. I'll wait till you have your copies. I'll just jump right in. So as the subject of the agenda indicates, discussion flow, we'll talk about a little bit about 24, where we are in fiscal year 25, and what we're looking at for fiscal year 26. And as a reminder for those who forgot or might not know, the county, the state, we have fiscal year of July 1 through June 30th. So when we talk about fiscal year 26, that's the year that will end June 30th, 2026. So how did we end fiscal year 24? We did end up slightly better than anticipated or estimated. There are a variety of reasons for that, but some of the highlights on the slide show that we have a 2.4% higher than budget in revenue. The majority of that is a net impact of, we did, believe it or not, we're still getting some federal reimbursements for the 2017 North Valley's flood through FEMA and COVID, and higher than expected interest. Then that's in our pooled account, so interest on the cash, simplified that we have, and some unrealized gains. So that's a book value of market value of investments. We did have other sources and transfers in higher than budget. This relates to a GASB, so Government Accounting Standards Board requirement that certain items be identified, leases in particular, as intangible assets. And so you'll see them as both a source in the audit, and that was presented December 10th to the board, the ACFR. And so it shows on both sides. So it shows as, so rather than showing as an actual expenditure in services and supplies, it shows as an intangible use. And then there's debt. So it's in a debt category of a revenue, for lack of a better term, or a source. So that has only been in the last 2 years. So that'll be, if you looked at a historical longevity report at for the general fund, those will be relatively new, fiscal year 23 and 24. Expenditures were slightly less than budget, 1.6. That's pretty close in our world. We had less than budgeted settlement payments, so those final payments, closing the book, so to speak, on incline. Some personnel savings, and as well as unspent encumbrances. Those are things that are POs that we may not have paid the vendor or gotten all of our services by June 30th. Other reasons that led to this was limited use of contingency. So we did use contingency in fiscal year 24, but we did not use the entire budgeted amount. So our result was the fund balance of the $34.5 million, which was the estimate when we came forward and had recommendations and adopted the budget. Did not happen. And then our unassigned fund balance is at $145 million. And then the figures are to the right in the chart. So looking at fiscal year 25, we disclosed, some of these might be slightly different depending on the close date of December. They should be mostly accurate. We can see revenues and transfers in are trending at 46% of the budget. That's not unusual. With expenditures and revenues, they don't necessarily come in at 12th every single month. There are periods where we have more and periods where we have less. And expenditures and transfers out are at 48% of budget. If we look at compared to last fiscal year at the same time, we are at a higher percentage of our expenditures and transfers out, and that is due to the finalization of the collective bargaining agreements and then those impacts simulating in our estimates. So there were some unbudgeted impacts due to those. And those are simulating when we get to the 26 outlook. So at a high level, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of information out there. There's, we'll go to the third bullet point, ask 50 economists, you'll get 50 different answers. It's true. But the Federal Reserve did cut rates. Their last cut was late 2024, so there were 3 rate cuts in 2024 calendar year. So we've seen that start to impact some of the markets in some people, it's a positive way. So when that Fed rate goes down, the cost of borrowing also usually follows suit and goes down. The state of Nevada, the November unemployment rate is 4.2%. The Blue Chip Survey, that might be the prior year. Blue Chip Survey, 50 professional economic forecasters. So real GDP growth, so gross domestic product of 2.1%, anticipating CPI or inflation of 2.4, unemployment rate 4.3. Most economists consider between 4.1 and 4.3 full employment, that employment rate is just natural unemployment. We talk about there's general uncertainty, so whether it's the markets or other mechanisms, things that we use to measure against benchmarks, global and in particular national economic conditions and potential impacts of the change in administration, the federal administration. So when we look at the state of Nevada, year-to-date taxable sales are down 1.3%. So for those who might not know or might not remember, taxable sales are a portion of the consolidated tax or the C-tax distribution that local entities receive. It is highly influenced by Clark County. They are by far the largest county, and kind of as Clark County goes, the county numbers go. So they, if they are down, it tends to trend down or drag down state averages. The state unemployment rate is at 5.7%. So you can see that's higher than the national rate. It's still the nation's highest rate. This is where we were last year. We were at the highest rate. They're citing, and this information comes from the Department of Employment, Training and Rehabilitation, or DETR, through the state. Decreased jobs, especially in professional and business service industries, a decreased labor force, economic growth concentrated in lower wage or lower productivity jobs. And this is a mismatch. We do, we'll maybe talk about it a little bit in the next slide, but we do have seen some comments and some concerns even in the Northern Nevada area. As we go to more high-tech or different types of industries, being able to have the labor to fill those types of jobs. So it's a match between the jobs that are available and the jobs that the people who are seeking the jobs, those skills that they have. And then, of course, seasonal work impacts unemployment, going up and down, particularly in tourism and farming. A lot of people don't necessarily equate farming with Nevada, but we do have pretty robust agriculture. The housing market, we're not, generally speaking, Nevada is still fairly, depending on what you're comparing it to. Nevada can have favorable housing market conditions when you're looking at maybe, across the line, the state line or some other areas, definitely has become more expensive. I think we've all seen that. And it's interesting, so in this article, it mentions Nevada basically has two markets. Individuals moving here who are less sensitive to housing prices, and those are people that are coming from more expensive cost of living areas and sell their home or have whatever resources and assets they have. And so they're less, when they're cash buyers, they're less impacted. They're not impacted at all, really, by interest rates, right? You don't have to get a loan. You're paying cash. You're not paying interest. And then the other side of the coin is locals who often can't afford to buy. So this is what information or what we're seeing as far as trends. It's not new trend, but just wanted to try to provide a little bit of updated or additional information. So when we look at Washoe County, we are year-to-date, so July through October, our taxable sales are plus 0.3%. That's essentially flat. We do have a 4.3% unemployment rate. It's in alignment with the national rate. The Reno MSA, which includes Story County, Reno Sparks, so Washoe County, Story County, shows loss of jobs in November, but then it was offset with higher labor force reduction. So less people in the labor force, even though there were less jobs available, means that you don't end up with a spike in unemployment. Those two indicators that come up with that rate. Most information is showing mixed economic signals for Washoe County. I think we are all in the same boat when we say that various impacts of cost escalation, whether it's labor, inflation, demand for services, population growth, those have not subsided. When we have prior year inflationary impacts, a lot of times those prices or costs don't go down, they just flatten out. So they don't increase as much, but they're not down. This slide is just to redirect to the strategic priorities, the focus areas. Of course, the next strategic workshop for the board is scheduled for January 28th. So this is just a look back or a reminder as to where the focus areas have been. General considerations. We do focus a lot on the general fund. The general fund supports, it's about 50% of our entire budget. It has obviously property tax, consolidated tax. Those two taxes still equate to about 83% of the total general fund revenues. We look at personnel. Right now, we call it our base budget, or our budget rolling in, reflects a structural deficit of $27 million, or 5% variance between sources and uses. This includes what we know, the impacts of collective bargaining, the continued, I'll say impacts, but the continued trends related to the Korn Ferry implementation or classification and compensation studies, as well as whether there were inflationary impacts last year or in the current year, whether we're seeing those continue. That's where we're starting. Personnel increase is approximately 8.2% compared to the adopted budget, which did not include all the changes to collective bargaining because those agreements were not finalized. So we see that in salaries and we see that in benefits. It's in another couple of slides. The big area in benefits that we're seeing the issue is the PERS. So Public Employee Retirement System, our PERS contributions. As a PERS employer, the county it's not discretionary. The county cannot pay PERS contributions for PERS covered employees. It's not under the purview of the county. It's not under the purview, quite frankly, of the state. It's under the purview of the PERS board. So those rates are determined with an actuarial determined contribution. It was kind of hot and heavy there for a bit. We got this notification last month. So tried to update our forecasts and everything to account for that. So that's a big chunk of when we see those benefit increases, it's a huge chunk of it. Transfers out are about 20% of total general fund uses, so those do not show as expenditures in the financial statements, but they're transfers to another fund that then will turn that into expenditures, right? It becomes their source. And then again, the revenues, the 83% has been standard, I'll say at least 5 years, if not more. The updated 5-year forecast, so that would include fiscal year 26 or the base budget through fiscal year 30, shows average revenue source increase of 4% and an average expenditure or use increase or revenue sources of 4, uses expenditures of 4.6. So that's where we see structural deficit. They're out of balance. So what we're seeing is approximately a 5% deficit every year through fiscal year 30, which also coincides with what we're seeing just in 26. And it's an average, so slightly more, slightly less every year of about 25.7 million. That's every year. So how does that impact our fund balance, or how does that impact? Well, we would be below policy level in 28. We would be below policy level and our statutory required level of 4% in 29. And we would meet both of those, as a typo, my apologies. NTSs should say NRS. NTS is not a different acronym. Below policy level, those two conditions, as well as a negative fund balance in fiscal year 30. So some of the historical information or historical data, what we've seen is that over the past 3 fiscal years, average sources, so revenues and other sources, have increased 7.7%, and average uses have increased 12.2%. This excludes the settlement payment and other one-time uses, like some of the transfers for capital projects that were determined as one-time. So this is the ongoing picture, and this is where you can see, once again, this number, if you just do the math and figure out the variance between them, it's not quite 5%, but it's real close. So forecasted deficits need to be addressed. We need to address them timely. In addition to this good news on here, we did end up fiscal year 24 better than anticipated. So what that does is it pushes out, if you will, or buys time, for lack of a better term, as far as being able to make adjustments. But we talk about personnel and it being, it's our resource. We provide services. We're very personnel heavy. we are. That's not a bad thing, it's actually normal. But some of the good news when we have these increases in salaries, or we've had the collective bargaining agreements approved, is that we have seen impacts in the HR field. So the information I have is that applications increased 15% between 2023 and 2024. So that's that time period of post-Corn Ferry or Corn Ferry implementation. There have been multiple employees, I don't know the actual number, but enough to notice, that have extended their retirements, so they're staying longer, as well as the most recent employee survey indicated that 80% of employees that responded were very satisfied with their wages and benefits. So that's good news on the front. Having constant turnover is not good. Not only is it not good from being able to provide services effectively and efficiently, it also costs money. So those are good news. Special revenue funds and proprietary funds are impacted by the same cost escalations, particularly personnel and some of the other inflationary for contractual services, as the general fund. So special revenue funds, proprietary funds, as a reminder, or for people who don't know, we have 6. So we have internal service funds, which is our health benefits fund. So that's health benefits for our employees, retirees. Then we have the risk management fund, which is risk management, workers' comp, unemployment comp, property and liability. We're self-insured. And then the equipment services fund, which is fleet or fleet management. Then we have 3 enterprise funds. So for lack of a better term, enterprise funds run like a business. They're self-supporting. They do not get general fund subsidy. So those are the utilities fund, the golf fund, which is fairly small, and then building and safety. But all of those funds also have people. They might not be as high of a percentage, but we have that in the general fund, right? Some departments have a higher percentage of people as part of their service delivery than others. But when we talk about requests and submissions and forecasts, that same analysis needs to apply to special revenue funds and proprietary funds as we do with the general fund. So I just didn't want that to kind of, didn't want to lose sight of it, even though we do focus on the general fund. We also have a lot of other funds that we need to look at and analyze and, figure out what adjustments can or can't happen. So these are the figures from a previous slide. So when the budget was adopted, so that's the top left matrix, you can see, right, we talked about, we have some warning, if you will, warning years looked at 28, 29, and 30. We can see that basically that estimate has accelerated. So that forecast of ending fund balance percentage in fiscal year 30, we're looking at something fairly similar in 28 now. So it accelerated it. There wasn't a good color that was kind of worse or more impactful than red, so that's why it's purple. I was trying to find something like the weather does when storms are coming through, but it didn't really have it. So that's why that's purple. It's just trying to be a little bit different than red. As always, some of our general considerations are that we need to continue to fund ongoing operations, right? Things that we're doing that we need to be doing. Now, maybe service levels, maybe there's a plethora of things that adjustments that could potentially be made when we talk about ongoing operations. Personnel cost increases continue to outpace revenue increases. We do have multi-year collective bargaining agreements. That is really good for people who forecast and are trying to figure out, well, what is this going to look like in 2 years? There's some certainty with that. We are still experiencing normal personnel cost growth. So those are people working through their salary range, what we call merit increases. Certain positions that might have promotional increases because they're X position 1, 2, so they go from a 1, then they go to a 2. And those are normal. Those have always been something that we forecast or simulate. Retirement costs, this is a big one. That's why it's a whole separate bullet point. So what we see here is the 2 rates. So we have regular rates, police, fire, some people refer to it as public safety rate. So we have the 22 rate of those 2. Then we can see in 24, based on the 2023 Nevada PERS board action, and now we're going to see what's going to happen, or what we've been notified is going to happen in fiscal year 26, which was based on 2024 information. So, or not FY24, FY25. I mean, you can see it, right? We're going to go from police fire from 44 to 58.75%. So to put that in terms of what easy math, I'll call it, if there is a position, a police fire position, that is salaries of $100,000, we're paying almost $60,000 in PERS. So that's not an insignificant percentage. It's the same application for regular employees. We're now at 36.75. So if there's an employee and their wage is at $100,000, it's almost $37,000 for PERS. So that is an escalation, and it's not something that we have direct control over. We're required to make those contributions, but it has been a very large impact to the various budgets. And not just us, those agencies or municipalities, localities that are heavily, a lot of their expenditures are related to police fire. I'm gonna throw names out there. We have some neighbors, and they have a lot of their general fund budget, a lot of their budget pays for police and fire. This is staggering. This is significant. I don't know what's going to happen or what's not going to happen with this, but as far back as I've gotten information, this is fairly unprecedented. I haven't been able to go back far enough to see these types of increases in the past. Continuing with considerations, there are always, sorry about that, potential legislative impacts. As I believe it's tomorrow at 6 p.m., the governor is scheduled to have the state of the state, and I don't know if it's already been released, but if it hasn't been, we'll get it soon with the budget, or the governor's recommended budget. So I don't have that. We don't have that information right now, but it should be coming in short order. We have structural issues or issues with funding our capital projects, our capital improvement program. Right now, our base level, our base transfer doesn't cover the anticipated or the ongoing needs based on our assets. The very end of this presentation, there's a question slide, then there's some supplemental information. The first slide is the conference board, which you might not even be interested in. It's something that I like to know, but a lot of people probably aren't, they don't even care maybe. But then the following slides is our updated infrastructure scorecard. So the Community Services Department works with asset allocation and what's the asset value and what would be the anticipated annual investment. And that information is there. My understanding is that there will be some discussion related to infrastructure on the 28th, or the strategic workshop on the 28th. I don't know what form that will take, but this is the most current information that I've received from CSD, and it's up to date, it's current. But we also, so with that, we need identified funding mechanisms for major capital infrastructure projects, including the roads fund. That's one of those special revenue funds that we were talking about, or was mentioning, that has pretty concerning structural issues of being able to maintain and keep investing in the roads. The main source of funding for that is motor vehicle fuel tax, which is not keeping pace with the cost of what we need to do related to roads. So it's top of mind as far, and we brought it up or had discussions last year about this, knowing about this issue, and we did some one-time, the board approved some one-time funding for the roads fund to shore up the current year that we're in, but that's not ongoing. That's not, in fact, that revenue source is not ongoing. It was one time, so. To summarize, I guess, is preliminarily funding available for ongoing enhancements. We don't anticipate that to be available, particularly due to the flattening of C-tax. We were unique where we saw an increase. We saw a fairly healthy increase of our C-tax receivables over COVID. So we were able to weather some of, but of course, right, we're, dealing with the outbreak and the response, and between Northern Nevada Public Health and then the things that we need to do with incident command and those types of things. But generally speaking, we did not see that revenue drop off like we saw like over the Great Recession. So, but when we see that slowing down, there's a lot of reasons for that. Part of it is consumer spending, and with, anyway, so there's a lot of underlying issues related to that, but it's flattening, and we see it, and we were bringing it up as something we saw as a trend last year. So at this point, there have been a message from the county manager as well as a notification or discussion at department heads to look at anything they can for net zero reallocation requests versus adding additional expenditures, particularly personnel. So we don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but just continuing to add personnel is not going to, it's just going to take the picture that we already see and it would just make it worse. So some of these might be resource sharing, maybe in ways we hadn't thought of before. Things that are cross-fund, I mean, we have to figure out how to make these things work or how we can share it. There's a lot. Leveraging our existing resources, perhaps one-time investments that are identified that could result in cost savings, cost avoidance, or maybe make us more efficient, those should all be first consideration. We are changing the process slightly, so from the commissioner side, it will be transparent. We can't change our statutory deadlines. We'll still be coming and making presentations. We'll still be talking with you individually. But on the, I'll say the department side or this operational side, that we are, because of this, we are changing the process slightly. So we have forecasted unsustainable structural deficits. Upcoming changes to address the structural deficit, so starting with fiscal year 26, budgeting departmental salary savings, so those would not be available for reallocation or use because the savings would be budgeted. Anyway, and budget authority, we call this the reappropriation. So when the audit comes forward and there's a separate attachment and it talks about the reappropriation, that's basically reappropriation of budget that was not spent at the end of the prior year. Reappropriation from fiscal year 24 end into fiscal year 25 in the general fund was about 3.8 million. So that is something that we have to anticipate is going to be spent by year end because the commitments are there. So continuing with that process just creates more uncertainty and creates issues in the outer year. We need to try to keep our savings that we can as we're doing these various different things to update, whether it's operations or policy, whatever we need to do to address the issues. Other measures, these are not being recommended at this point, but there are other things that can help curb and again, these are more temporary in nature, but hiring freezes, reduction plans, we just don't know. And if they are necessary, we don't know in what amount and what year, but it feels like it needs to be said, or I feel like it needs to be said that it's a possibility. I can't say for sure it's gonna happen, but it's a possibility. There, at least one agency I'm aware of has already implemented a fairly steep budget reduction for their agency, not a large agency, not the cities or anything. So when we talk about next steps, what do those look like? So 2 weeks, I keep saying next week, 2 weeks, the strategic workshop. We're targeting March 25th for the Budget 101 presentation, so hopefully that will be good for both the public, the board, whatever discussion related to the budget process, not going into line item budgets, but talking about the budget. We are statutorily required to submit our tentative budget on April 15th. The same day we will be scheduled to present the recommended budget to the board. Then May 20th right now is on the schedule for the public hearing of the tentative budget and then to adopt the final budget. Per statute, that action item cannot happen prior to May 19th, and it cannot happen any later than the end of May because our budget has to be submitted by June 1st to taxation. So we have a very small window for that action. Then June 1st we have to submit, and then every August 1st we do have the 5-year CIP, which comes to capital improvement plan. That comes to the board separately. It's outside of the budget. It's usually an item that follows the budget. the debt management policy and statement of indebtedness. And those two items also come to the board, but we're required to submit those to the Department of Taxation as well as the Washoe County Debt Management Commission. That's a high level. There's a lot of other deadlines and stuff in the background related to that. And I don't know if anybody wants me to switch to those supplemental slides or not, or if we just you want me to shut up now and you can absorb or whatever it is you need to do.
Do we have some questions from the commissioners? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cook, for your dedication. I mean, I think any of us who meet with you or anyone who meets with you truly understands how much you understand and the complexity surrounding this. I would be remiss not to be jumping up for, I want to physically jump for joy for March 25th, 2025. Even though the information that you're sharing is not necessarily joyous per se, but the reality is that, as you know, requesting the open transparency and the commitment and alignment with Washoe County has been in play, that we're going to have essentially an open checkbook that is in line with the Nevada checkbook, or Checkbook Nevada, and then the request that, you know, I had made to have a budget 101 and have that be part of the process, so that when the open checkbook for Washoe County is up and available for anyone to look at, that folks who are looking at will have an opportunity to understand, which is why the Budget 101. I'm hoping that can get taped and we can include a link so folks who can't attend for whatever reason, life does happen, that will be available right on the landing page for the open checkbook for Washoe County. But I do want to thank you for all of your hard work, but I think it's really interesting. This is really high level. We don't know exactly what is going to happen. It's not a surprise to any jurisdiction, including Washoe County, that CTAX has been indicating a downward projection. Other jurisdictions certainly are going through their process through this. The national climate may offer opportunities. We're not really sure what that will look like for consumer spending and business and jobs. So that's uncertainty. The fact that there are unfunded mandates that seem to be a prevalence when the legislature is in session, I hope does not happen. The state of the state for the Governor Lombardo is tomorrow night, so hopefully we'll learn what that looks like. So there's a lot that looks like there's opportunities, but at the same time, I know that everyone's going to be dedicated to looking at, from a department standpoint, as the budgets are looked at, avoiding duplicative services, efficiencies and effectiveness. What's the impact, right? What's the direct impact to providing those services? As you pointed out, Ms. Cook, we're really, I've said this often, we're really in the customer service business. We provide essential services to our community. Some things are, compliance driven, that we have obligation to do that, whether it be through legislation or federal compliance, and then there's essential services. But there's always room. It's unfortunate when these things happen, whether it's business or government, there's opportunities to look at what is the ROI on that. Again, essential services, sometimes it's hard to quantify that, but what are we doing? How are we spending money that we might be able to better utilize in cutting back without having an impact on essential services in those compliance areas. So I'm sure as all the departments heads are wrestling with how they do that, I think there is opportunity for cross functionalization that you spoke to, that you led to. It'll be interesting to see as we get deeper, you all get deeper in finalizing what those projections look like. Because right now, we're only looking at a bird's eye view, this really high level. And so any decision-making at this point is really it makes no sense to do that. But what it does is give everyone an opportunity to really think about projections that we are facing are not going to necessarily go away. And to be honest with you, even if there is some wonderful economic blossoming of something, government really needs to look at how it can do things in a more efficient and effective manner. Washoe County, in terms of the staff that we all work with, I think is very committed, and you are a testament of that. And so is Ms. Yakman, and so is Ms. Thomas, and Mr. Solero, and many of the folks that we work with. All the team, the staff, are really looking at how can we do more with less. And I think you all knew this was coming. But I also think it's an opportunity to look at how we can better serve not only the customer, but how we can work more efficiently and effectively. I said it during a previous meeting about looking at having someone look at how we do things, because sometimes when you're so close to something, you don't necessarily see it, right? Or there are so many departments, there's 3,117 employees, at least when I started. I don't know what the technical number is now. There's a lot of moving parts that are happening, and everyone's working really hard, and so sometimes there's a tunnel that happens. And so I'm sure there's a lot of smart people here that are going to be dedicated to looking at how we can implement and be effective and cost savings. And not necessarily just for now, but for the future, right? Because I think it gives an opportunity. I always look at these as opportunities, even though all jurisdictions are facing this. Kudos to Washoe County and a culture here of being very conservative and being very good stewards of the taxpayer dollar, to be quite frankly. So I really want to make sure that, again, that you, Ms. Cook, your team, Ms. Yakobin, this treasurer, Justin Taylor, everyone, I sit on many of the committees, and to see the work that you all do in knowing what's coming down the pike and not waiting until everything is off the cliff is to be commended. But I'm going to be eager, along with everyone else, to have the Budget 101. I know Ms. Yakman is right there looking at me. The Budget 101 for the entire public to actually be able to understand the complexity of this. And I know if anyone can do it, you all can. So thank you again for your time, and thanks for providing this information, even though it doesn't necessarily paint a picture, but I'll be looking forward to the opportunities that you all come up with and the creative ways that we can save a lot of money. Thanks. Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia, did you have some questions?
I do have a question. Thank you for a great presentation. When were we notified about the increases for Nevada PERS?
I don't want to misspeak. It was December 13th-ish.
Okay.
So the Nevada PERS board meets in November, so it was after November, and then we get official notification via memo. And it was right before we ran our pay period 25 cost plan. So it was the first or second week of December. So it's maybe a month, not even a month.
Wow.
And when we do, and just for any, I don't know if you're interested or not, But when we do simulations per personnel, it's by person. So it's by person, it's by pay period, and these tables, and they're looking at when does this person get a merit, and is this a police fire position? If it is, this is their PERS. If they're not, it's this PERS. And so it's pretty robust. And but to change some of those tables and that programming on the back end, technology services as well as my staff, really just kind of, we dropped everything else to see that we could get something so that then we could at least an updated forecast related to the general fund and for the board. So without going into too much detail, it's between a $9 and $10 million increase in PERS in the general fund. There is offset for the employees that have to share in that increase. I think the net impact is somewhere between $5 or $6 million.
Wow, significant, and you didn't see it coming. Nobody gave you a heads up on that, and you had to adjust quickly, so I appreciate for that. You've been here how many years?
25.
And have you ever seen that significant of a change at the PERS level happen? Okay.
No, I'm going to age myself here. When I started, Washington County PERS was about, for regular employees, about 20.25%. It went down to 19.75, and then it's gone up every biennium since. Sometimes it's been flat, so that's not a true statement. Sometimes it has been kept flat based on the actuary, the PERS actuary. There are a lot of reasons mentioned in the actuary. If anybody's interested, I can forward it to you. It was not available on their website, but the CFO of the school district requested it and got it. Mark Mathers got it, and I can forward it if anybody would find it interesting.
Okay, thank you. I know we will continue to fund ongoing, operations and services, and I was really pleased to see that we are seeing outcomes from our Corn Ferry salary adjustments, and that is great news. So thank you for giving a nod to that. And, another thing that kind of stood out to me in your report, what gives me high blood pressure, Vice Chair Herman, is the infrastructure needs throughout the county. And, you have these assets that are all over this giant county that are continually aging and needing repair. And, when you have so many services and so many needs out there, and then you have this ongoing need, it's a tremendous source of pressure for all of us to keep an eye on that. And for the public that didn't see the scorecard is a really great tool for you to kind of better understand what areas we're really struggling in. And for me, the bullet point you included on the attachment there was that parks, 15 years later, the budget is still only at 65% of what it was pre-recession. And so I know we're talking about now, last year, next year, and into, 2030, but we're still feeling the impacts and constraints from the Great Recession. So to Commissioner Andriola's point earlier, that goes to the complexity of your job, and I think you do a tremendous job forecasting for us. So thank you for communicating what you found this year.
And I'm not sure who else. I don't want to be remiss in not thanking Anita. Aaron Smith worked on the infrastructure scorecard and those bullet points, so I got those from him. We obviously, a lot of times we're looking at the same data source. But yes, and Dave Solero, Assistant County Manager, can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're still feeling ourselves digging out from our infrastructure from the Great Recession. Over the Great Recession, we basically, when I first started in budget, our general fund transfer to CIP was $0, no dollars. And so those, we were running on fumes. And I think I've said it quite a few times, but I think what we've already been able to do and been able to absorb has been great, but when we lose sight of that, right, and it's just, well, let's just do that again, we might not be able to because we might be starting from here now, right? So it's just, this kind of, we'll just cut A, B, C, and D. That's not always necessarily, how much low-hanging fruit is there right now? Can I say there's none? No. But can I say that it's the same as going into the Great Recession? No, I think we've done a lot of those things. We have called mega departments, right? So we have Human Services, who is encompassed in this very large department now, where we used to have multiples. Community Services used to be used to have different departments. Now it's one very large department, or even things we've had to incorporate with service delivery in departments. Departments have grown because the need and what we're required, whether we require ourselves to do it or whether we're required by a legislative body to do it, has also grown. We have right now certified population over 500,000. And we're not all, we're kind of concentrated in the incorporated cities, but we're not. And we're seeing growth out into the unincorporated. And we've got, I mean, you know, we have Via, we have all the way up to, you know, the Oregon border. Gerlach, we just, it's not, you know, Tahoe, right? So it's a very large geographical area with some very remote places that we still have needs. So it can be a challenge for sure.
Commissioner Clark, did you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Geez, where do we start? It's a good thing we don't shoot the messenger here. There's
25 years if that was the case.
So I salute you. You're very brave to come here with this report. There's so much information here. As commissioners, we could probably spend 40, 80, 120 hours just studying this 3 or 4 weeks, and you've covered it in just a short period of time. But you know, there's just so much going on here. We've had so much new construction. We've got, and that comes on the tax rolls at you know, full bore. Lots of income, lots of COVID money, lots of income, and yet we're still in a bad spot. There's no getting around it. I think we need to, when I was at the commissioner's, at the assessor's office, I think we had 31 departments. And I asked just asked this question 2 days ago to or last week, Friday, to the HR department. How many departments does the county have now? We had 31. We've got 7 elected departments, and then how many other departments do we have? And over the last several years, how many departments have we added? Those are some questions, and I don't expect you to have them at your fingertips, so those are some questions I'd like to know. How many departments do we have now? And how many departments have we added in the last few years? So we need to look at that. We need to look at all of our spending. This is, as a fiscal conservative, I understand what's taking place here. It's almost like it's been like the reverse of dieting. Dieting, you cut on calories and do more things, and the opposite of that is add bulk up and add other departments and and talking about the PERS. I mean, if you've been here for 25 years studying this and you didn't see it coming, how does anybody else supposed to see it coming? So those are things that you know, come to my mind initially. And lastly here, it'd be nice if we'd have had this information a month and a half ago or so, when we gave one of our executives a massive bonus and a massive pay raise. Here we are talking about dire times, and just a few weeks ago it was let's have a party, here's some money, take a pay raise, take a bonus. And our rank and file folks and folks that we need out there, maybe they needed the raise, maybe they needed maybe the services that we need, fire and police and other services are top priorities for us. Maybe the folks over here, we heard earlier today from Crossroads, maybe they're a priority versus some others. I had a meeting just yesterday when somebody wants an extra $26 million or more or less for the West Hills. How is this going to affect our moving forward with West Hills if we're looking to, we've bought it, we got one leg on the boat and one leg on the dock, and now we need another $26 million to finish that. So we've got to prioritize the goods and services that the county has. We've got to find the highest and best use of the funds. How do we make these funds go where they need to go? Do we spend an extra $26 million that apparently we don't have or more on a facility that will help less than 1/10% of the population? Or do we try and save and help the 99% of the population? So those are just my thoughts as a fiscal responsible person looking at how you make the dollar go the furthest and how you make the dollar serve the most people. And again, the COVID money's apparently dried up. The federal government, we're going to have to wait and see how things play out with that. We've got a new administration coming in a week from, I guess, today. And there's just a lot of variables. But no matter how much, if the county wins the lottery, if we continue to grow faster than income comes in, then we're never going to get out of this cycle of overspending and not having the income to back it up. So we as commissioners need to take a good hard look at everything we approve around here to make sure that we help pump the brakes a little bit. And I'm not lecturing to you, I'm just getting it out there to the universe that us and other municipalities need to look at the same thing. We can't have all these pet projects and let the stuff that is desperately needed go by the wayside. We've got to prioritize how we allocate our funds. The pie is only so big. Even Warren Buffett knows that. So he's got a lot more money than this county does, and I guarantee they don't throw money around over there. So we need to take a good hard look at this and as leaders make sure that we don't just invest in pet projects. Thank you.
Thank you. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to thank you. Your wisdom and knowledge are amazing, just absolutely amazing. I have a couple questions. I remember asking at one time why we weren't getting money from all the new infrastructure. And is that going to change ever? Is there a deadline on that? Or does that just stay there and we don't get anything?
Well, there's a cross-section of things going on, right? There's X amount of developable land. Then you have what's being developed, what types of developments are happening. Our biggest issue, and although to Commissioner Clark's point, new development goes onto the rolls at full bore, right? There's no abatement. There could be exemptions or other tax credits or other things, but generally speaking, just at 100%. When we have assessed valuation or other things that increase, we have the caps. So the caps are a huge, huge deal. It makes it more affordable for a homeowner. The last time I talked to our treasurer, 95% of parcels in Washoe County have an abatement, which means if somebody were to pay the full tax bill, well, I'll call it $3,000, and next year their tax bill would have gone to, I'll say $4,000, I'm just making up stuff, they would be limited to have a 3% increase on that $3,000 based on the formula and based on the cap. Non-residential, it's 8%. And so what we're really seeing, I think, is dual impact of it took us until fiscal year 19 to get back to the absolute value of property tax receivables, what we get in property taxes, as we did pre-recession. So that was 10, 11 years. Then even with the new growth, and don't get me, it has helped a lot. When you see, anticipated property tax increasing 7% or 8%, new development is a large portion of that. But it's how fast can it go on the rolls? How fast is it developed and it's assessed at the higher value? And it's not a large enough component of the total assessed valuation and the total property taxes to tip us for those properties that have abatement. I don't want to go there, but, and then the different areas have different rates. So we're at an overlapping tax rate, our constitutional cap of 364, but we do have multiple areas that are not at that 364, but we can't pick and choose, different areas. So because it went down, we had to claw our way back to get up, and then the cap is part of it. I personally think it's a large part of it. And then where the development, right, is happening, and then how that impacts the services or the need for services that are related to the development. There have been, and Dave Solero or Kate Thomas could probably speak to this better than I, but there are, certain things we can't. Other areas might have certain fees they can charge as part of development that then help support some of these other activities, whether it's, parks or something, but we don't have that. But the idea is you have more people, then you have more people working and spending, and it's just, we're not seeing that population growth result in a commensurate, necessarily dollar for dollar growth in revenue. I will say in the general fund, a 10% increase in property tax, which I'm rounding it, would be $26 million. It would take us a 10% increase in property tax to and it wouldn't even address the deficit that we're projecting right now. So if the bigger question is, does development pay for itself? I can't answer that, but.
Okay, I have another question. Do you think, from all your checking through and knowing the system and knowing the ins and outs of money coming in, is Corn Ferry, in your opinion, worth it for us or not?
My opinion, I will say yes. It was long overdue. We fell behind. We fell extremely behind the board's policy of being a mid-payer. And what that means for people who might not know or have not heard is that at the top of our pay scales of our commensurate jobs, that we do have a third party that does that, and I'm not making that up. Is that that our top is at the mid. So if the market, and then there's median or whatever, but if you say the market's 100 to 200, our top is 150. Right, we're at mid. We don't pay the top. We don't pay the bottom, and that has been, I think, the policy since I've been here, or the direction since I've been here, and I think based on a myriad of things we were seeing, feedback from employee surveys, turnover, even people that leave and they promote from one department to another. A lot of times they did that because they were topped out and they had no other. Professional series to go to, so they have to go to another department. Well, all that knowledge and it goes with them, and then the department that's like, oh, I've got this vacancy now, they in some cases have to start from scratch, but even if the employee can help, it's not full-time, right? They're not doing that same level of efficiency. And so I think turnover, vacancy rates, attracting and retaining the employees. And I think for us, just because there was a long period of time, which my understanding is we're not going to go that period of time again, is that long period of time, right? So it's, if you keep things flat and then you try to catch up, it's a steeper curve. And I think that's what we're seeing is just that little bit of that steeper curve. But I do think that it was something that we needed to do as a county for human resource stability.
Okay.
So.
Thank you for that. In the reimbursements from the federal government, how much did we get in on the 2017 flood?
I'll get back to you.
Can you?
Last year we got, I have it in my notes. Last year, but I don't have the total amounts. But
Just rough.
Yeah, I don't know. I know we billed over 10 million. There are certain items that were reimbursed at, well, there's different rates. Most of the time it's 75%. Last year was, I have the total federal reimbursement. So between the 2017 floods, which was the lesser of the two, and COVID was 1.9 million in last year's monies. So I can get that for you. I can get the total, and they reimburse us by project, so they sit. They're not just like in one line item in the budgets, but I can run the project list and I can get that to you as to where we are as far as what we've received.
So I liked what you said about the housing industry. Nobody agrees with me, but you did. So thank you so much. We appreciate you being here and and giving us all this information. It's almost mind-boggling, but, pardon?
I've got a
Did you
follow-up
have something?
question.
Okay, thank you.
When you're done.
Go ahead. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I've got just a follow-up couple of comments. I'm wondering, and I ask about how many departments we have. I also would like to know how many employees now are on the payroll that were funded with ARPA funds that are going to evaporate here, vaporize.
Approximately 10.
How many?
10.
10 employees.
10 full-time permanent.
So it like
Our positions, not necessarily
right,
contractor.
right. Yeah, I'd just like to know and how we're intending to fund those positions in the future. The obvious answer is raise taxes, but I would like to find out about that. And also, I've asked in the past, and it doesn't seem to go much further than an ask, is how much surplus property does the county have that they have in their portfolio that is not allocated for some county project? There's some of those projects we can A, liquidate and free up some funds, and B, get them on the tax rolls so we can have some income from those properties. Just land banking, the county shouldn't, in my opinion, shouldn't be in the business of holding a lot of property just because. And I've asked for that list, and it just never seems to materialize what that number might be. And that might be a way it's a small drop in the bucket, but every drop in the bucket kind of helps. And if we can get county-owned properties on the tax rolls and out to private developers and investors and homeowners, I think it's important. The other thing is, and I just want to get this out, and this is just a comment, is you talked about how folks coming in from other states are not affected by the prices of the property, and they're not affected so much by the interest rate because they're paying cash in many cases for their property. But one of the components is of owning a property and making properties affordable is, when people save up their down payment and they have a loan, they have principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And taxes are a component on property ownership. So anything that raises the taxes makes homes less affordable for folks. And I just need to make sure people understand that, how that connects. Thank you.
Are there any members of the board that have an appetite for voting on this today? I didn't see that. All right. Well, thank you so much.
I have my notes.
Thank you.
But before we go to 6, though,
Oh, yeah.
Madam Chair, you do need to open it for public comment because it's styled for action.
There is no public comment.
You are free.
All right. Now we can have donations.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Today, I move to accept a donation of $9,165.56 to FTFT LLC, better known as Hammer and Nails. It was a husband and wife team that hosted a charity golf tournament back in October to support foster and adoptive families. I believe he's in attendance today, so I just wanted to personally say thank you for stepping up. A lot of folks in the community will cut a check, which is also commendable, but to actually do the work of putting on an event is exceptional work. So thank you for giving back to the community. And with that, I'd like to make that in a form of a motion.
Well, second.
Thank you, both of you. And now we've had
Madam
our,
Chair, for the record, there is no public
motion
comment.
oh, go ahead.
There is no public comment.
Okay, thank you. Since we've had a motion and a second,
It's on the screen.
Pardon? Okay. I'm so sorry. I get so nervous up here.
Madam Vice Chair,
Just
you
says all
just calling
those
for
in
the
favor
vote.
signify by
okay.
saying aye.
Yeah, so all in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
It looks, And there's no nays?
Can you vote on your screen, please?
It's gone. It was up.
There you go. There you go. All right. So now
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. We are now on to your consent agenda.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, you have 14 total items for consideration. You'll recall we took off item 7E1, so you are looking at a consent agenda of items 7A1 to 7G1.
May I have, is there a motion to approve this? Oh, gosh.
Do you want to ask for public comment?
Public comment?
There is public comment. First up, we have Edward Lamb, followed by Chaplain Chaz Blackburn.
I'm panicking.
Edward Lamb.
My name is Edward Lamb. I'm on 7B1, and I was here to volunteer for the senior advisory for District 4. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Chaplain Chaz Blackburn.
Thank you all. Chaplain Chaz Blackburn for the record. I just wanted to come here and say thank you so much to Commissioner Herman and the Commissioner Board for the consideration for the donations to the Circle of Life Hospice Foundation and the Great Basin Chaplain Corps. I'm excited to share that since our opening on June 9th of 2024, we have helped 28 people and families, if they had them, be able to die with a place of dignity, a safe place for a beautiful goodbye. 4 were veterans, half male, half female, and about 70% of them were seniors. We help children, we help veterans, we help seniors, we help all. We do have a radiothon on February 20th, which I ask all you to attend. We'll have different times to do interviews. It will be a Lotus radiothon. We'd love for you to share with the community why this is so important. To be able to help our communities most vulnerable. Reno Public Market has donated a ribbon cutting space for us March 20th from 3 to 5 p.m. This is definitely a nonpartisan issue. Unfortunately, we've had 4 to 6 times the amount of people that we've been able to help we've had to turn away. There's a huge need for this. Just last week, I was notified from Renown with some of the referrals that we were at capacity for beds for individuals in these states. And so this is definitely a need. So we are launching our campaign build-out plan, but that could take years to come. So we also, though we have the land for that, are considering other options for upgrades to a larger location. We will also have a gala, which you are all invited, and I will email you the details for April 11th of this year that will be held at the Nugget. I also wanted to thank you for the donations to the Great Basin Chaplain Corps. We are made up of 54 licensed chaplains and insured chaplains who are competent volunteers 100%. Last year, we had an approximate service amount of hours estimated at over 12,000 hours. And we have 6 onboarding chaplains. We currently need to handle all the calls for fire, law enforcement, EMS, 6 hospitals, human trafficking, and all the other areas that we serve, homeless and displaced populations, recovery for addictions. We need about 150 to 200 chaplains to meet that need locally. And so when we onboard a chaplain, it takes about $800 to $1,200. They volunteer hundreds of hours through training and in the field experience. And that's where the money goes. But it's a great investment because these professionals invest in volunteering for the next 10, 15, 20 years to come. Our operation costs are about $2,500 a year for dispatch and communication systems, and that's it. So I just want to thank you all for your donations and consideration of such and your faith in our different organizations serving our community. Thank you.
Andrea Pelto, followed by Pam Dar.
Andrea Pelto for the record. Today I'm wearing my Circle of Life treasurer hat, and I also would like to thank Commissioner Herman and all the other commissioners for making their donation to the Circle of Life Guest House. So the cost of the guest house to provide 24/7 care runs approximately $30,000 a month. And, you know, just think about how you would feel if you had a loved one that you couldn't take care of. And here, you know, we can provide the room and board and the 24/7 care that they need. But we really need your help to, you know, continue this service. You know, we do fundraising. And that's why we're having the radiothon, we're having the ribbon cutting, we're having the gala. We would love, you know, for the commissioners to possibly purchase tables for the gala, you know, because again, it is an expensive proposition, but the good that we do for the community and the families that you will hear from, you know, are just, you know, unbelievable stories, you know, from people ranging from 47 years old to 97 years old that we have been able to help. And so we really, you know, need your buy-in to make this, you know, continue in our community. You know, we already have enough homeless people. We don't need the people dying out on the streets. And we're doing this to prevent that from happening. Thank you very much.
Pam Dar.
Good afternoon, Chair, fellow commissioners. My name is Pam Dar. I'm here about 7D2, and I don't know a lot about it, but just looking at it and listening to the meeting so far today, it looks like we really don't need to be adding more responsibilities to departments until we know what money is out there into budget. I mean, this is repairing bikes. When I think libraries, I don't think repairing bikes. I'm not saying anything against the libraries, but is there a need and a want for repairing bikes at libraries? I mean, I think maybe the taxpayers need to know about that because I've never heard of that. And what concerns me is it may call for people to be taken away from their job. I mean, I've worked at jobs and all of a sudden they give you a new responsibility. And, you know, it's difficult to get your job done when you're having to be taken away to go work on something else. Or is it for the person to do it themselves? Is there liabilities? Is this going to break and we're going to have to repair it? Or they have to put on their applications they know how to repair bikes? I don't know. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. And when I look at the concerns of, you know, monies and availabilities and not doubling up needs out there, I don't think of library. I'm going to take my bike to the library to get it fixed. I just don't think that. So before you vote on that, maybe see if that's something that's really needed at this point. I know myself, I'm looking at stuff, you know. When you're paying twice the price for what you paid a couple years ago, you kind of have to stand back. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Try to stay warm.
There's nobody else signed in.
All right. Can I get a motion on this?
I'll move to approve, noting that 72 includes a grant at no cost to the county for clarification on that one particular item. So I'll move to approve as presented.
In a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Quorum, I mean, that's a... Looks like we did that. All right. The next item will be our block vote. And would you like to read that?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I'd like to go ahead and block items 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Do we have public comment?
There is no public comment on any of these items.
All right. May I, we have a motion and a second.
I'll go ahead and second. I believe I heard
Okay.
Commissioner Garcia make a motion. Thanks for the clarification. I'll second that.
Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it looks like we got that. And now we are, I believe, into a public hearing. And, Madam, yes, please.
Absolutely. Thank you. Madam Vice Chair has opened the public hearing to consider objections to the resolution of intent to lease R24-116 and 2, possible action to approve the ground lease between Northern Nevada Youth Golf Foundation doing business as First Tee of Northern Nevada, a corporation for public benefit. And I believe we have Mr. Crump here to open the public hearing with some staff information.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. For the record, Eric Crump with Washoe County's Community Services Department. So the item in front of you today does a couple of things. First, the item recommends approval of a ground lease of approximately 39 acres of land to Northern Nevada Youth Golf Foundation. They're currently doing business as First Tee Northern Nevada. They are a corporation for public benefit under state law. This resolution of intent to lease was originally approved by the board in December of 2024. If the ground lease is approved, then this item recommends approval of an amendment to the golf course development agreement that's dated July 25th, 2022 to make associated changes. The proposal to lease the 39 acres to First Tee for the development of Wild Creek Golf Course actually dates back to a series of decisions and community-oriented goals. The primary intent of this item is to support the county's commitment to our community to continue to provide affordable and charitable golf at Wild Creek. Washoe County actually previously held title to Wild Creek Golf Course and related improvements. And through a proposal from Maz Golf, who is our operator at Sierra Sage, and First Tee of Northern Nevada, and a very engaged community, it was determined that the best opportunity to continue to provide golf at this location was through a transfer of land and property to First Tee. This board in October of 2021 actually approved the transfer through a purchase and sale agreement with possibility of reverter. And so what that means is First Tee now owns and operates Wild Creek Golf Course. They're required to provide charitable and civic golf for the community, and if they fail to do so, the property would come back to Washoe County. A golf course development agreement was approved in July of 2022. The development agreement actually defined that the transfer of the course would be completed in 2 phases. First, the transfer of the existing parcel, which is done through that purchase and sell, and then concurrently, Washoe County would be acquiring the reversionary interest of approximately 40 acres of land that the county owns through a patent from BLM. Washoe County would then, after they purchase that reversionary interest, would transfer that property to First Tee, perform a BLA, and then they would have all of the property that they needed. Interestingly, while we were performing the due diligence on the possible purchase of that 40 acres of land, and through further discussions with BLM, it was determined that BLM would support a lease arrangement versus the purchase, so obviously saving a lot of money. So we've negotiated a lease with First Tee. That's what you have in front of you today. That proposed lease, if approved, would lease that approximately 39 acres of BLM patent parcel to First Tee. And it's important to note that that parcel has historically been part of the Wild Creek Golf Course. Amendment number 1 of that development agreement makes changes to the agreement to allow for the lease of the 39 acres, removes reference of that phased approach of the golf course outlined in the development agreement, and then restates the amount that's currently available to them for development funds on a one-on-one match. It's important to note that we do have Bob Ensenberger. He is chair First Tee. He is here, and we're able to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there-
Public comment.
Okay. We have public comment.
There is no public comment.
Would the gentleman, is there questions for the gentleman that he mentioned?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to come to the podium?
Thank you, Commissioners. For the record, Bob Ensenberger, Board Chair of the First Tee.
Good afternoon, Bob. I just want to go on the record that I do support what you're doing there. I just had a question, and it comes to mind just because of a situation that's happening with another golf course. I can't remember the name of it, out in Lemon Valley, about issues about water. And everything good with your water? You've got plenty of water and that type of thing?
We do have plenty of water. The water is, we get, I believe, approximately 200 acre-feet of affluent from the city of Sparks, which is enough to take care of the golf course itself, along with whatever natural water we get from the skies.
Sure. So Sparks is donating that, or giving that?
They're
that
donating that, yes.
Well, I salute them then. Sparks is a good partner to have.
Yes.
It's very nice of them to help with that. That's a long-term problem for any golf course in an arid climate that we have. So I'm glad to hear that. That was the only question I had, and I support what you're doing there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Any other questions?
I just wanted to say thank you for the great added value you bring to our community and helping engage our youth and getting them exposed. Many of the students who go through your program would never have that opportunity if it wasn't for First Tee, so thank you.
Thank you very much. And by the way, Commissioner Clark, we do pay property taxes on that property now.
Good to know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So since we don't have any public comment, correct?
No public comment.
Okay.
I'm happy to make a motion to approve the agenda item as presented in the staff report.
Second.
So since we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And all against? No, there's no nays, so the motion passes.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Oh, okay, we are now closing this public hearing. I'm new at this, so. There we go. Thank you for your patience, everyone. So now we're into public comment.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. You're on your final public comment, and comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear, no longer hear public during individual action items because we are done, but we have comments that are to be made to the commission as a whole.
Madam Chair, there is nobody signed in for public comment.
Thank you. Are there any commissioners' announcements or county manager announcements?
I have no announcements, thank you.
Well then, we can adjourn this meeting. Thank you again for all your patience.